Sometimes I just want to be fed the answer. Just tell me the answer, please. Why do we do this? It is a statement of not being in our power, perhaps not being connected to our inner guidance. Spoon feeding consciousness is real, and I see it everywhere. If you sometimes just want to skip to the bottom line and you don't want to do your research, you don't want to analyze the data, where else does this show up? I don't want to have to take the time. There's time as a liability consciousness problem there. And just tell me what I need to know, right? And then I can be done with that and I can move on. Many times we move into a state of being powerless, not realizing that we diminish our experience on the inside and the outside. Let's get into this. But first, I'm Annie Colette-Carr from the Leap of Consciousness channel on Telegram. I'm a familiar face and voice over in Quantum Stellar Initiative, and this video is a highlight or a recap of spoon feeding consciousness. So when we come from a powerless state and we just want someone else to do the feeding into us of our mind, we literally give up our power. It's subtle, but it's there. And it can often be super annoying to others around us who've actually taken the time to do the work. And it can be perceived as you want it easy. Well, it could also be perceived as you're being lazy. What I'm getting at is others will pull an arrow of judgment out of their quiver and fire it at you and accuse you of something that may not be true. You may not be a lazy person. You may not be, stupid or some other judgments people throw in the direction of someone who just wants to be spoon-fed. You get the idea. So when we clear spoon-feeding consciousness, we no longer ask for the easy button for information. We may front load and set the listening for someone in the future where we say something like, I am really busy right now. I don't have time to set aside to do some deep research. May I please have a synopsis, a short explanation, a bottom line answer for this question or this problem? And I commit to doing the research when I have time. Just so you know that I appreciate that you did the research already and that you know this. But simply chronically asking to be fed the information is a symptom of a deeper problem, and it's linked to being powerless. It's a victim state of thinking, and it means that I can't think for myself. I don't have time to think for myself. I don't have the resources to think for myself. I'm not skilled enough, mentally agile enough, smart enough, intellectual enough, erudite enough to contemplate the problem before me, that I moved into victim, and I'm now saying, feed me. And so this is why it's very distasteful to others, because they know it's not the truth of you. The truth is you have inner guidance. The truth is you have a brain, you have resources. There are websites, there are YouTube videos and Twitter accounts and friends and neighbors and chat members that you can ask for, what resource do I consider? Or you can share, I have looked at these resources and I can't make sense of it. I'm missing something in my education. Can someone help me? That is not spoon feeding requests. That's actually saying, I have a problem processing this information, and there is a difference. It's when we get lazy and when we say, oh, just tell me the answer. And I've been there. I have confessed, spoon feed me. I just want to know what's the name of that token. Um, it happens. And as long as you're in the company of friends who love you, that's fine, because there are little token clubs and channels and groups around that you can be spoon-fed information. But the problem is you are then at the mercy, at the risk of the research, for better or for worse, because it could be based on bad research, right? This is why healing victim consciousness keeps you out of trouble. That is why there's an ascension program inside QSI. Quantum Stellar Initiative understands that spoon feeding is not a good thing in your repertoire. Okay. If you were to pull out a SIM card from your mind and look at it and go, oh my gosh, I have spoon feeding, that means I could be fed good food or bad food, right? Because it exists, it means you're hackable. Someone could spoon feed you misinformation. They could also feed you good quality information, but that spoon feeding presents a problem. So we want to release that. So I acknowledge I have a conflict with spoon feeding consciousness and all the ways that I may get lazy, want to be fed the answers, don't want to do my research, want to just simply trust others and get the bottom line, get the summary, and move on with my life. And I let that go from my conscious awareness. I release my self-judgment that I can't believe I didn't think I had time to slow down, do the research, and make a list of questions that are intelligent and thoughtful. And I let that go from my conscious awareness. I let go of my self-judgment that I wish I had recognized that I was going into powerless states of victim consciousness when I kept asking people to just tell me the answer, because I felt weak or unable to meet my own needs. And I let that go from my conscious awareness. And then I got to look at the conflict, my judgment of that. I release my judgment of the conflict that I shouldn't ask people to feed me and go into spoon feeding consciousness when I'm capable of getting the answer myself. And I let that go from my conscious awareness. How about when someone judges you for being, wanting spoon feeding? That's a perspective of 3 or 5, right? Perspective 3 is you to me, and the group to me. So now we can clear the conflict from that angle, where we get to share. I release my judgment of the conflict that others tell me that I have spoon feeding consciousness and don't want to do the work and rely on them. And I let that go from my conscious awareness. So if you have a tendency to point the finger of make wrong at others and say you have spoon feeding, that's perspective 2. If you point the finger to a group and say you all have spoon feeding consciousness and you got to let it go, you still have spoon feeding consciousness in your awareness. So we clear that perspective by sharing, I release my judgment of the conflict that people shouldn't have spoon feeding consciousness because they trust people with the information they're given too much, which could get them into risk or get hurt where they lose everything. And I let that go from my conscious awareness. The reason we want to clear multiple perspectives is so that it doesn't show up in the relating, the energetic real estate between yourself and the other party or parties who are either asking you to spoon feed them, or you are asking them, or you're asking your inner guidance to spoon feed you the answers, because that's the me to myself perspective, right? And then we move to the judgments, the self-judgments of the other person and their judgment of the conflict. And we move through those. We get to step into their perspective and release those. Moving into step 3 of the conflict resolution process, we make a forgiveness statement. I release all judgments from all angles, all levels, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and abundant, and from all perspectives of relating and dimensions of awareness. That's it. Simple, clean sentence. It covers everything that's left over from the judgments. By now, you should be experiencing a difference in your energy. And then we get to the step 4 where we proclaim spiritual sovereignty. I proclaim myself spiritually sovereign from spoon feeding consciousness, and I commit to doing the research, connecting with my inner guidance, opening to the truth of the information before me so that I can make good, wise choices. And if it ever shows up again, I commit to conflict resolving it until it is no longer in my conscious awareness. Then we move to step 5. I shine the light of truth to my physical body first, and I update every cell, every water molecule that I am free. I'm liberated and I'm spiritually sovereign from this energetic pattern, this fear-based thinking. And I shine this truth to all others that they can be free of spoon feeding too, right? Because our true nature is love. And by letting go of fear, every time you let go of fear and you move through it and you replace it with the truth, you're practicing self-love. This is quantum self-healing. You raise your frequency and you restore yourself to your true nature of peace, which is love. And love wants other people to restore themselves to their true nature as well, to their true, innate, peaceful nature of love. And so we shine that light of truth to all the witnesses. We don't have to say a word. We just energetically shine that light to everyone that we are free and clear of that fear. And now with that moved out, we go back and we notice our relating is different now. How we relate with information, how we relate to others, and the ways in which they present information, they present their questions, and how we no longer are asking for spoon feeding. We're actually recognizing in an instance, oh, wow, it's not appropriate for me to be bringing my fear into the channel, into the relationship, and looking to be spoon-fed. That it's annoying to others when they have respectfully done their own research and they're trusting me, right? This is what you say to yourself. They're trusting me to do my research and then bring my highly qualified questions to the channel because I actually now have an idea about what's being shared, what's being discussed or talked about. And so now your presence is absence of the fear of called spoon feeding. And it really is a fear. And so now people will relate differently to you when you don't have spoon feeding consciousness. Thank you for joining me. There's plenty of more information on my YouTube channel. Join the Telegram channel. Happy to help you with this fear. If you notice that it's linked to other fears, which is typical, right? There's never just one because our beliefs and the proof that we use from the past that we can't do this work is linked to Powerless and other things we get to explore now and release those fears too using the conflict resolution process. I'm so glad you joined me and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.